past 20 years, the chance of surviving 5 years after a breast cancer diagnosis in Australia has increased from 73% to 91%. It's thanks to the incredible advances in breast cancer research that we've seen these improvements in survival rates. But without clinical trial participants, these advances would not have been possible. More than 15,000 women have participated in the breast cancer trials research program. One of those women is Leslie Gilham, who was a participant in the TEXT clinical trial. TEXT was a practice-changing study into the treatment of breast cancer in young women. It showed that the aromatase inhibitor exemestane is more effective than tamoxifen in preventing breast cancer coming back in young women who also receive ovarian function suppression. We sat down with Leslie to hear how she first heard of clinical trials and why she decided to participate.
To be quite honest, I wasn't aware of clinical trials until I was diagnosed, and my oncologist, the first day that I met with him, we went through my treatment plan, and then he raised the possibility of there being a clinical trial that I might be suitable for, and would I be interested. And I guess probably because I've got a daughter, and I've always been one to volunteer for numerous things, that I thought I'll be interested. So I took away all the information from for the trial and had time to consider it and then weigh up whether I wanted to participate, and I did. So, yeah.
Was it relatively easy to join that trial?
Yes. Well, it was a randomised trial, so you weren't guaranteed whether you were going to be given the aromatase inhibitor. It was either 50% of participants were given tamoxifen, 50% given an aromatase inhibitor. It also involved having triptorelin to suppress your ovaries and put you through menopause. So I was allocated, and I was lucky enough to be allocated to the trial arm. It was an international trial, so there was a lot of women involved in that trial, and it is now standard of treatment because it was proven to be more effective.
So what type of information did you receive before signing on to the trial?
So the information I received, I had a meeting with my oncologist who suggested the trial. He brought in the researcher as well, the research nurse. So they basically went through the whole protocol for the trial with me and discussed it in detail, and probably for around about an hour. And then I was given the protocol and the informed consent to take home and consider. So I could go home and discuss it with my family, whether to participate or not. And then, basically made the decision and came back and agreed to participate.
And during the trial, did you feel very supported? Did you understand your treatment and why you're being treated that way?
Yes, I was very supported. Part of the trial was that you had to attend the clinic more often than the average patient. I was also constantly receiving phone calls from the research team, and also because of the additional, other than just receiving the drugs and the extra testing and that sort of thing, I also had to fill out quality of life studies and things like that. So you were sort of more aware of where you were at and the treatment itself, but where you were at as a person and whether you were struggling in any areas, and then if at any stage they thought you were struggling, then they were there to support you.
So you feel like you had more observation and more support than if you would just receive standard care?
Yes, I believe so. Statistics show that people on trials do better than people off trial. I'm not sure whether there's a scientific background to that, but I think it's basically because you get the more support from the team when you're on trial.
And so why did you ultimately decide to participate in the trial?
I guess the way my oncologist put it to me, not just about the trial, but about the advancements. I had a friend who was diagnosed 5 years prior to me, and one of the drugs that if she was diagnosed at the same time of me, she would have had access to, and she didn't have access to that drug, and I'm pretty sure that she probably would not have passed away if she'd had access to that drug. So I guess it brought it home to me, the importance of the treatments improving all the time and the survival rates improving as a result of that. So I guess that, and a combination of having a daughter, I was very keen to play my part in improving treatments and overall survival rates.
Do you think there's many misconceptions about clinical trials out there?
Definitely. I'm a strong advocate for clinical trials. One, because I've been on them, but two, since I've been on one, the amount of literature I've read about trials and how they've improved survival rates over the past 10 to 20 years is incredible. And I mean, a lot of people out there think that a clinical trial is that they're testing things on you, but they're not really. They're testing they're not testing on you because it's already gone through the testing process before it gets out to clinical trial in a phase 3 clinical trial, which is what I was on. So they're really just gathering data.
So how do you feel knowing that your participation in a trial has helped inform practice for how breast cancer is treated in Australia and New Zealand?
I'm very, I guess, proud in a way that I played my small part when the results came back for my trial, and that was because of the data that was collected, and they said that would now be the standard treatment or gold standard treatment for my type of breast cancer. I was a little bit proud because I thought, well, it was worth, participating, and it was worth putting my hand up and hopefully making a difference for the future generations.
And what would you say to somebody who's considering participating in a clinical trial?
If someone had the option to participate, I would strongly recommend it. It's when you've got a diagnosis and you've got so many things going on in your head at the time, it's good to be able to focus on something, and I found that a really good way of being able to get through my treatments and that sort of thing. But also it's that ability to sort of hopefully make a difference and work. The other thing that I found really important and really fulfilling was I felt like I was part of a team, being the research team. They included me in every decision process, and I always remember, other than the day I was diagnosed, the hardest day was saying goodbye to my research team after 5 years. So you end up being a part of the team and you feel like you're working towards something together.
That was Leslie Gilham, a past clinical trial participant and the current chair of the Breast Cancer Trials Consumer Advisory Panel. If you'd like to learn more about clinical trials or search our open trials, visit breastcancertrials.org.au. To keep updated on the latest research, stories and breast cancer trials activity, make sure you subscribe to the Breast Cancer Trials podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn and Instagram.